and welcome to CEC Gurukul Lectures. I am Mehak Chawla, art educator, Bharatanatyam dancer and disciple of Guru Srimati Geeta Chandranji. We will study about the branches of art. In this, we will study about literary arts. Continuing with the relationship of literature with dance and music. Literature provides themes, lyrics and narratives for dance and music. Bharatanatyam, Odissi and Kathak compositions often draw poetic texts like the Geet Govinda. Similarly, classical music compositions are often based on lyrical poetry. So they all draw the inspiration from these texts and then they use these texts in their form. If we talk about theatre, drama as a performing art begins with literary scripts. The playwright's texts form the foundation upon which directors, actors and musicians build the theatrical experience. In visual arts, literature often inspires painting and sculpture, illustrations of myths, epics and poetic scenes. Conversely, visual imagery influences literary descriptions and metaphor. In cinema and media, modern cinema heavily relies on literary storytelling, adapting novels, plays and poems into visual narratives. Thus, literature is not isolated, it is creative source that feeds and inspires all other art forms. If we study about the elements of literary art is built upon essential elements that together shape a work's meaning, beauty and emotional depth. These elements are theme, plot, character, setting, style, tone and mood. Imagery and symbolism and language are the foundation of all great works of literature. Indian literary tradition, rich and diverse, offers countless examples that beautifully illustrate these elements across ancient, medieval and modern periods. Every place of literature, whether a poem, story, novel or play, is built upon certain essential elements that shape its meaning and aesthetic impact. These elements work together to create the total artistic experience of a literary work. If we study about theme is the central idea, underlying message or main concept that the literary work conveys. It reflects the author's observation of life, moral vision or philosophical inquiry. Themes may be explicit or implied and can range from love, freedom and justice to conflict, identity or morality. In Indian literature, themes often explore dharma, karma and bhakti and also moksha. For example, in Shakespeare's Macbeth, the central theme is the corrupting power of ambition, while in Tagore's Gitanjali, it is the spiritual quest for divine union with the divine through love and devotion. In Ramayana, the central theme is the triumph of righteousness over evil and the importance of virtue and duty. In Kalidas' Abhijnana Shakuntalam, the theme revolves around love, destiny, and purity of heart. If we study about the plot is the structured sequence of events that forms the framework of the story. It involves a beginning, development, climax, and resolution. A well organized plot maintains the reader's interest and gives the story coherence and direction. According to Aristotle, a good plot must have unity of action, meaning all events are logically connected and contribute to the whole. For example, in Pride and Prejudice, the plot follows Elizabeth Bennet's journey from prejudice to understanding and love. In Mahabharata, the plot is vast and multi-layered, weaving together numerous subplots around central conflict between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, culminating in the Great War of Kurukshetra. In Kalidasa's plays Meghadoot, through lyrical contain a subtle emotional plot, a yaksha's longing to send a message to his beloved through a cloud. If we study about the character are the human, animal, or symbolic figures through whom the story is told. They bring life to the theme and plot through their thoughts, emotions, and actions. Characters may be protagonist, antagonist, or minor characters who support the narrative. The depth of characterization determines how real and relatable the story feels. For instance, Ram in Ramayana represents the ideal man, truthful, compassionate, and devoted to duty. Draupadi in Mahabharata symbolizes dignity, courage, and resistance against injustice. If we study about setting refers to the time, place, and cultural or social environment in which the story takes place. It provides the backdrop that influences the characters and events. A strong setting can enhance mood, reflect themes, and shape the narrative realism or symbolism. For example, the rural Bengal of Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay's Panther Panchali vividly portrays the simplicity and struggles of village life. The Mahabharata is set in an ancient royal and mythological landscape that mirrors the social and moral complexities of its time. If we study about style is the writer's unique way of using language. It includes sentence structure, diction, tone, rhythm, and literary devices such as metaphors, similes, and alliteration. An author's style shapes the reader's perception and emotional response. Style gives individuality to literary expression. For instance, Kalidasa's style is known for its lyrical grace and natural imagery. He is often called the poet of beauty and nature. Tulsidas in Ramcharitmanas combines simplicity with devotional fervor, using the Awadhi dialect to reach the masses. Each writer's style reflects not only artistic individuality but also the linguistic and cultural richness of their time. If we study about the tone and mood, the tone in the author's attitude towards the subject or audience, while the mood is the emotional atmosphere that the reader experiences. Tone can be serious, humorous, ironic, or sympathetic. Mood can be joyful, tense, melancholic, or mysterious. Both tone and mood help create the emotional resonance of the work. For example, in Geet Govind by Jayadev, the tone is devotional yet sensuous, while the mood alternates between longing and joy as Radha and Krishna reunite. In Tagore's The Post Office, the tone is tender and philosophical, evoking a mood of innocence, freedom, and spiritual transcendence. In Indian tradition, tone and mood often correspond to the rasa theory of Bharata's Natik Shastra, where emotions like love, sorrow, heroism, and wonder combine to create aesthetic delight. If we study about imagery and symbolism, imagery refers to the use of vivid and descriptive language that appeals to the senses such as sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell to create mental pictures. Symbolism involves using objects, characters, or events to represent deeper meanings or abstract ideas. Together, they enrich the work's emotional and intellectual depth. For example, in Meghdut Kalidas, imagery of cloud, rivers, and mountains conveys both natural beauty and emotional separation. In Tagore's Gitanjali, nature, rivers, fields, and skies symbolizes the divine presence in the everyday world. Indian writers often uses cosmic and natural imagery to connect human emotions with the universe, blending the spiritual and aesthetic dimensions of art. If we study about language, it is the core medium of literary art, the material out of which literature is created. It carries the rhythm, diction, tone, and musicality that make a text artistic. The careful selection and arrangement of words transform ordinary communication into literature. Poets, novelists, and playwrights use language not only to describe but also to evoke feelings, suggest meanings, and create beauty. The mastery of language is what distinguishes literary art from everyday speech. In Indian literature, the diversity of languages such as Sanskrit, Pali, Tamil, Hindi, Bengali, and others has enriched expression through unique rhythms and sounds. The musicality of Sanskrit poetry in Rigved hymn and Kalidasa's verses exemplifies the poetic beauty of ancient Indian language. The simplicity and emotional power of Kabir's couplets, composed in vernacular, reveal how language can express profound truths in direct rhythmic form. The mastery of language gives literature its aesthetic charm and emotional depth, making it art rather than mere communication. These 8 elements theme, plot, character, setting, style, tone, and mood, imagery and symbolism, and language work together to make literature a living reflection of human life and thought. Each element contributes to shaping the reader's understanding and emotional response, turning language into an art form that reflects life in its fullest complexity. If we study about the literary art across time and culture, literary art has evolved through various historical periods, each reflecting the changing values, beliefs, and creative impulses of human civilization. From sacred hymns to digitally narratives, literature has continued express human consciousness through language and imagination. The journey of literary art across time and culture shows how it adapts to new contexts while preserving the essence of human thought and emotion. If we study about the ancient literature, it makes the beginning of human expression through language, often rooted in oral traditions, mythology, and spirituality. The primary purpose of ancient texts was to record divine knowledge, moral values, and cultural identity. In India, ancient literature includes the Vedas, Upanishad, Ramayana, Mahabharata, texts that combine philosophy, mythology, and poetry. The Rig Veda hymn reflects the early human quest for cosmic order and divine truth. The Mahabharata, one of the world's longest epics, presents profound reflections on dharma, duty, and the human condition. Thus, ancient literature laid the foundation of all later artistic and moral traditions by uniting spirituality with storytelling. In classical literature, the classical age is characterized by refinement of literary forms. Drama, epic, poetry, and philosophy reached new heights of sophistication. The focus shifted from divine revelation to human character, ethics, and aesthetics. In Indian classical literature, the works of Kalidas, Bhas, and Shudrak exemplify the refinement. Abhigyana Shakuntalam by Kalidas combines poetic beauty with emotional depth, while its Meghdut expresses the pain of separation through nature's imagery. This period valued balance, harmony, and idealism, viewing art as a path toward truth and order. In the medieval literature, the medieval era was dominated by religious, devotional, and courtly literature. The focus shifted from human rationality to faith, devotion, and spiritual experience. In India, this was the age of Bhakti and Sufi movements, where poets used vernacular languages to express love for the divine and unity among people. Poets like Kabir, Mirabai, Surdas, and Tukaram composed lyrical poetry filled with emotional intensity and spiritual symbolism. In the Renaissance literature, the Renaissance was an era of revival of art, science, and human intellect. the focus shifted from purely religious concerns to humanism, celebrating human potential, reason, and creativity. In India, revival can be seen in the growth of religious literatures. For instance, Tulsidas Ramcharitmanas made the Ramayana accessible to the masses in the Awadhi dialect, combining devotion with literary grace. The Bhakti poets continued to emphasize personal faith but also reflected human emotions and social consciousness. The Renaissance marked the rebirth of creative energy, where literature became a celebration of life, nature, and intellect. In modern literature, it emerged in response to industrialization, colonialism, and social change. Writers began to focus on realism, individuality, and emotional expression, often questioning established norms. In Indian literature, the modern age brought reformist and nationalist voices. Writers like Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Rabindranath Tagore, Prem Chand, and Sarojini Naidu reflected the struggles of ordinary people and the awakening of national consciousness. Tagore's Gora and Premchand Godan combined realism with social critique. This period reflects the human quest for identity and justice in a rapidly changing world. In contemporary literature, it is characterized by diversity, experimentation, and global awareness. Writers explore issues of identity, gender, migration, environment, and power. The post colonial, feminist, and Dalit literary movement gave voices to previously marginalized perspectives. In India, authors like R.K. Narayan, Arundhati Roy, Salman Rushdie, Masweta Devi, and Anita Desai represent varied approaches, blending realism, mythology, and modern consciousness. Dalit writers such as Om Prakash Valmiki and Bama use literature to assert dignity and equality. Contemporary literature is multilingual, multicultural, and interdisciplinary, breaking boundaries between art forms and cultures. It reflects the complex realities of globalization while remaining rooted in human emotion and experience. Further, let's study about the aesthetic value of literature. It lies in its ability to move, inspire, and elevate the human mind through beauty, harmony, and emotion. Aesthetic experience in literature arises when language, sound, and sense combine to create a deep emotional and intellectual response in the reader. Unlike ordinary communication, literary expression transforms words into an artistic experience where meaning is not merely understood but felt. Great literary works do more than entertain. They awaken consciousness, refine emotion, and offer insight into the human condition. When we engage with literature, we do not just follow a story or admire a poem. We enter into a world of imagination and sensitivity, where every image, rhythm, and idea resonates with meaning. Each reading of a literary work reveals new interpretation, making the experience multi-layered and timeless. Indian aesthetic theory, especially the concept of rasa in Natya Shastra, is fundamental to understanding literary arts. Literature like dance or drama evokes rasa, Shringara, Karuna, Veera, Adbhuta, and others, creating a total emotional experience. Let's study about the social and ethical dimension of literary arts. Literature not only entertains but engages with society. It raises moral and ethical questions, challenges norms, and gives voice to voiceless. Post colonial literature, feminist writing, and regional narratives reveal how literary art becomes an instrument of transformation and empowerment. Through such works, literature acts as both mirror and lamp, reflecting society and illuminating new paths of thought. To conclude, literary art stands as one of the most enduring and versatile forms of human expression, bridging the realms of imagination and reality, thought and emotion, the individual and society. Unlike everyday language which conveys information, literary language transforms words into art. It captures what cannot be measured, the inner life of humankind, the unspoken depth of feelings, the struggles of the mind and spirit, the universal quest for meaning. Through literature, human experience is not merely recorded but interpreted, elevated, and made resonant across generations. Just as a dancer communicates through movements and a painter conveys vision through color, the literary artist employs language as a medium of beauty, insight, and emotional resonance. Literary works harness rhythm, imagery, metaphor, and narrative structure to evoke aesthetic pleasure and emotional depth. The harmony of sound, sense, and feeling central to aesthetic experience ensures that literature does more than tell a story. It moves, inspires, and awakens consciousness. With this, I conclude my lecture. Thank you.